Hey guys, number one Marmaduke fan here, coming at you not live from the top of my laundry bin. So, it's another East meets West. I want to take a look at Anonymous Noise and Conan the Barbarian number 4. This was penciled by Barry Windsor Smith and inked by Sal Buscema. Now, the last Barry Windsor Smith comic I looked at was inked by 3 people, which is usually an indication they rushed it at the last minute. And I gave that one away. I kind of respected Barry Windsor Smith's like dynamic compositions, but something about it looked really jankety and a lot of the faces looked squashed. And this was much, much better. So it might have been an ink job that explained that. So the Tower of the Elephant, fake news, no beautiful blonde dame shows up, but there is a fight with a spider. You know, I had a commenter say that pretty much the consensus on Conan the Barbarian is if it's not written by Roy Thomas, it's trash. And I think that's, so far I've enjoyed every Roy Thomas Conan the Barbarian comic I've read. And I've always thought that the ones that are adapted from a story by Robert Howard seem to have a little bit more punch to them. They make Conan a little bit more than generic muscle guy. I got into Conan number 1 because Marvel started publishing these, and number 2, Genndy Tartakovsky has called Conan the Barbarian an inspiration for Samurai Jack, and I can kind of see that, even though the characters are a little bit different. Samurai Jack is a very righteous, very pure sort of hero. Conan the Barbarian, because he's a barbarian, he doesn't know that much about society or civilization and its laws, and that means he does mean things, but he never does something that is so beyond the pale that you start to interpret him as a monster. You understand that he comes from like a simple what people from the wilderness, but he still has his own code of honor. So thing number 1 is they open by talking about to trafficking human slaves, right? Because they're not afraid to do that kind of a thing. And Conan objects because he's looking for a jewel. Like, he doesn't say, oh, you big fat meanie pants, I'll teach you a lesson to teach you to respect women. But we end up cheering for Conan because the guy he's beating up is a guy who kidnaps and sells women as slaves. And everyone in this room probably has kidnapped and sold women as slaves because it's a rough world. I marked this page because I really like this little pause sequence where the guy's boasting and, you know, dripping food, and then there's just a hand on his shoulder, and he slowly turns around, and the smoke kind of behind his head helps unite these 3 panels. It's a nice little quiet moment. I think a lot of 50s and 60s comics, the pace was boom, 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 boom. Every panel, something was happening. You couldn't take a panel out of the comic almost without it like not making sense. And I feel like maybe in the 80s, they started getting a feel for, you know, let's slow it down. Let's put in a few little quiet moments here to build up tension. And noticeably, there's a lot of like 70s riffic op art moments in this comic. So like there's just a big red and yellow flare behind Conan for some reason. And, he gets in a big fight, and he just wants to go, like, explore this tower and find this jewel, because why not? Oh, very problematic. Male gaze patriarchy. Hashtag the Hawkeye Initiative, by the way. Look at all that patriarchy. Look at it. You can't look away. I'm going to focus the camera so you're forced to look at this male gaze. All right, now that we've observed that. You know, there's, like, this cool little thing where he meets a thief, and the thief is a master thief, and Conan just kind of like decided to do this on a whim. It kind of reminds me of, your average Samurai Jack episode where he's trying to get the crystal and he meets some thief on the way. There's a lot of really cool, like, kind of abstract sequences where we see, like, all the cool patterns and stuff. And there's a little mysterious thing being built where they keep running into these animals that are a little odd, like giant spiders and lions that are completely silent. And he meets sort of like an eldritch god type of thing. So I haven't read any H.P. Lovecraft yet. He's on like this list of the authors I know everyone's supposed to read if you're interested in science fiction. One of the things that that actually kept me from reading him for a while was sort of the nonsense of Cthulhu memes, where I think in pop culture, in geek culture, Cthulhu is like, oh boy, I'm so nerdy, I know what Cthulhu is. He's like a total squid god thing. And I had some commenters point out that there's a lot more to the Cthulhu H.P. Lovecraft mythos than just squid god, that it's actually kind of like this really deep, kind of culturally terrifying thing. You can't really make Cthulhu a cutesy-bootsy part of the pop culture. And so what was interesting about this to me is it's kind of like it introduces like this weird green elephant man, but then and he's an alien. I'm thinking, oh boy, aliens and Conan the Barbarian. But it's kind of like this really deep ancient thing where this guy's been alive forever. He's of course looked at as a god by these ancient peoples, and then some people like capture him and torture him, trying to figure out like the secrets of godhood and the secrets of all his knowledge. So it's this really tragic thing of like something perverse being done to a being that is like more intelligent and maybe more sentient than even we are. And there's like a cool thing where Conan fights the evil bad guy, and there's some really cool, crazy psychedelic stuff and more psychedelic stuff. And I even like how the narration at the end is kind of wrapped up with this brick wall. So this Barry Windsor Smith art was a lot more interesting to me. I think the inker definitely helped it, and I'm going to keep this one. So, Anonymous Noise, I read Volume 6, and the author described Volume 6 as kind of like the build-up to the explosion. Let's refocus here. And Volume 5 of Anonymous Noise is probably one of my favorite comics I've read ever, because the whole time I was reading Volume 5, I just felt like I was in a Japanese rock concert. Not even a Japanese rock concert. The whole time I was reading it, I was imagining like the old classic rock songs that like my older brother used to put on a CD for me when I was a little kid, and then tell me, go away, go listen to this music, stop bugging me. And then I'd go listen to the rock and roll CD and just jump around on my bed when I was 7 or 8 years old. That was the feeling Anonymous Noise Volume 5 gave me. So Volume 7 is the next rock concert that we've been building up to. And last time I said it kind of feels like I'm on a train and I'm ready to see this train hit a brick wall, and I'm so excited. And then finally, the train hits the brick wall, and there isn't an explosion, there's a tea party. So the main character, Nino Arisugawa, whose nickname is Alice, as in Alice in Wonderland. She has a very straightforward character, and this is great for comedy writing because pretty much every gag gets to be Alice being Alice and Yuzu being Yuzu. If you understand the character, then comedy writing for them pretty much just becomes imagining them in various situations. This actually reminds me of Charles Schultz in two ways. Number one, Charles Schultz used to say he'd just imagine his characters talking until they said something funny, and then he'd get a gag out of that for peanuts. Number two, a lot of Charles Schultz's characters had unrequited love, but there would be like layers to it. So Charlie Brown has unrequited love for the little red-haired girl. Peppermint Patty has unrequited love for Charlie Brown. Lucy, well, she seems like a big tough girl who can beat up Charlie Brown and pull the football away from him, but she has unrequited love for Schroeder, and Schroeder's having none of Lucy. So what ends up happening is you sort of get a perspective on all these characters, and you kind of see how none of them can get what they want entirely. So what annoyed me a little bit about Anonymous Noise number 7 is the love triangle plot is starting to get dragged out a little bit. Like, I'm kind of thinking, come on, Ryoko Fukuyama, let's have the plot go somewhere. Let's see if there's some resolution for this love triangle. But then what she does is she sort of dips out a bit, and then she shows you some of the side characters and some of the side plots. She goes back to like her really good comedy writing, and I think this is kind of her way of saying, trust me. Just come with me on this journey. I will give you an end to this story. Trust me. And I'm saying, okay, Ryoko Fukuyama, I'm kind of annoyed by the love triangle, but I trust you. That was basically my feel for reading Volume 7. So it opens with Yuzu, who's Yuzu is short man complex personified. There's Yuzu on the right. So Yuzu's written what he thinks may be his last song for Alice. And there's this great page where all three of them are thinking, I'm going to pursue my one and only light. So Yuzu is in love with Alice. He writes music for Alice. She is his one and only light. Alice is pursuing her childhood friend Momo. Momo is her one and only light, and she believes her music will bring Momo to her. Momo, his one and only light is Alice, but he's ashamed of himself, therefore he writes music from her from afar while pushing her away. And this whole time I've been Team Yuzu, because he's actually there with Alice. He's actually in her life while Momo's just running away from her. But in Volume 6, I'm starting to kind of get why, man, I'm so invested. Am I Team Yuzu or am I Team Momo? I don't know who to root for. But now Momo, it's kind of like he's getting through his insecurities and his shame, and he's starting to feel something for Alice again. So I just thought this was a great little bit of exposition where all three of the characters are being established at once, and it's all going to lead up to a big high school rock and roll concert where these feelings are going to come bubbling up in an explosion. So In Volume 5, the reason the rock concert was so cool is Alice basically has this character where she is 100% single track mind, which is where a lot of the comedy comes from. And she's supposed to have like this very memorable voice, but she can't control her emotions. So Volume 5 is like this fantastic catastrophe rock concert where things can't keep going wrong. She keeps losing the rhythm and all that kind of stuff. It's like a fantastic catastrophe. This one is all about Alice finding her voice. Literally, she finds her voice. Metaphorically, she's figuring out what her artistic direction is. I really love like the thoughts on being an artist in Anonymous Noise. So after a few songs, she sings a song Yuzu wrote for her. And because Yuzu understands her so well, even though it's the first time she's ever sung it, she knows what it is because she and Yuzu just kind of click that way musically. And so it's like it deeply moves her. She grabs Yuzu's coat and she says, "Thank you for making me that song." So Yuzu, because he understands Alice, is able to move her at a deep emotional level with the music he writes for her. But Yuzu's problem is he's not being honest. And I'm starting to get sick of it because this is the second time he's basically looked Alice in the eye and lied to her. He's looked her in the eye and lied to her and said, I don't have a crush on you. He does have a crush on her. He said that to keep her from going away, so he could still make music for her. This time, he lies to her by telling her, I wrote all these songs. So after she sings Yuzu's song, their last song is a song written by Momo. Now, Yuzu's just got to like man up and tell the truth. So Yuzu's bright idea was, I'm going to have her sing my song and Momo's song. It'll be the battle of the songs, and we'll see who understands Alice. And because he's an idiot, it kind of backfires. So she sings Momo's song. It touches her in kind of a strange way, and Momo is listening to the song and his heart is moved by man, this is such a ridiculous romance, but I love it. So because Yuzu is not being straight with his feelings, the consequence is he's shooting himself in the foot. He thinks he can win Alice by making music, but because he's not telling her the truth, he's actually helping Alice get closer to her dream of finding Momo and getting back together with Momo. Okay, so as I'm kind of like rolling my eyes at the main plot, the subplots and the side characters are keeping me invested and keeping me interested. So there's been this subplot of this little J-pop star named Gummy. I knew it! My Gummy sense never fails me. And so far he hasn't talked to the main characters, but he keeps showing up and watching them. And he's clearly completely fascinated with them. So what I know this is he's being built as a character for a plot that's coming later where they're going to do a song with Gummy or do a rock concert with Gummy or something. So it's just a great little building tension where this guy's very comedic. I laugh every time he's appeared, but she hasn't used him yet. She hasn't had him meet the main characters yet. I just thought it's a lot better than just having him come out of left field later and I don't know who he is and I don't have a connection with him. This way I've been like laughing at him the whole time and I can't wait to see what happens. So this is Alice kind of like figuring out that this song reminds her of Momo. Did Momo write this song? Before Yuzu lies to her. And she kind of like puts it all together. She finds her voice and she figures out who she is as a musician. And that's her big moment. Now, instantly after that, she starts looking at herself critically. Once she figures out, I know how to tap into my emotions and my music and make it work. Then she has to look at herself objectively and say, I need to train this. I need to study these genres of music to kind of broaden my repertoire as a musical artist. So she's always looking at herself critically. She's always trying to improve herself. I thought this was kind of cute. Don't play with other people's bangs, says Yuzu. Now I want to play with them even more. Basic psychology, how to avoid Twitter drama. Don't tell the person to do the thing you don't want them to do. Anyway, I thought this was interesting. I'm always just so interested by these little editorial comments. So Ryoko explains that they were going to do an online advertisement for the manga. So she got the voice actor for Haruyoshi from the drama CD and wrote him some special lines. And it was like temporarily, it was like a temporary internet radio recording thing to advertise the manga. What even is the manga industry? There's so much strange stuff. And she always has like this cutesy friendly relationship with her voice actors. All right, the secondary characters. So my boy Haruyoshi, he's actually, where is he? I can't see Haruyoshi, but I don't see him. But one of my favorite characters is Haruyoshi because he's got this very effeminate personality, but he's straight and he kind of learns to be a man and tell the girl he loves that he loves her. And so that's kind of like become the theme of this story is tell the truth to the person you care about. And now this is being contrasted by drummer boy whose name I forget. So drummer boy has kind of been like the smallest, most incidental character in the band so far, and now he's getting a little development. He is in love with his older brother's wife, but he doesn't want to betray his older brother, so he's planning to just like bottle that up and never talk about that. So it's sort of like a different perspective on unrequited love. If the main trio, their unrequited love is about, being stupid and loving the wrong person, Drummer Boy's unrequited love is about self-control. I've got to like dump a bucket of cold water on my head. I got to control myself. When he finds out that he can't control his emotions and he's kind of sad, he's brokenhearted because his sister's wife just looks at him as a little kid and he wants her to look at him as a man. So he finally just decides, I got to get out of here. I can't live in this situation. So he's kind of fleeing from temptation, and I'm kind of interested to see where that goes. I kind of like the theme of saying, run away from temptation. That's pretty cool. And I like that I'm getting a feel for the rest of the cast beyond the main three. Ryoko Fukuyama is on Twitter at Ryoko. Here I am at my final column. Check it out. Thanks. General thank you for reading and all that kind of stuff. And special thanks to, I'm sure these are her assistants or something. Assistants in manga deserve all the credit they can possibly get. So the next little challenge for them is going to be writing a song for a pop duo. And I kind of like the feel of this, where now that they're becoming a hit band, they're kind of getting absorbed into the world of the music industry, and like they have to work for these fancy schmancy models. Do these models even care about music? Are they just like sort of teeny bopper Paris Hilton types, or are they actually serious about their music? Even though I always find them extremely stressful for some reason, I always enjoy drawing the concert scenes. Going forward, I'd like to attempt some more diverse challenges. The next concert scene will be the band's long-awaited tour, Ryoko Fukuyama. So that kind of sets up the theme for Volume 8. So the entire theme of Volume 8 is, now let's write a hip song for these teeny boppers, and are they jerks or are they actually really good musicians who care about their music? I want to keep going because I kind of want to give you a feel for how Ryoko Fukuyama is building these secondary plots. So both Momo and Yuzu, the short boy, have kind of bad home lives. Yuzu's mom forbids him from playing music. Momo's mom is manipulative and has saddled him with debt. He explains that his mom got her boss to co-sign her debt payments and then immediately ran out on her boss. So she's nasty, and he's deeply motivated by shame for that, and he wants to basically pay back all of his mom's debts just so he can kind of like hold his head high as a man. But he's also full of shame because he feels like he's sort of prostituting his love of music and his love of Alice to the music industry just to make money. So he keeps running away from his problems. He keeps running away from Alice. He keeps giving her the cold shoulder and trying to like run away from everyone. And finally, his friends catch up with him. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I marked this because, Ryoko does... This is the perfect example of, once you understand your characters, the jokes kind of write themselves. Alice, her real name is Nino Arisugawa. Her nickname is Alice. Her personality is, she's a 100% laser-focused type of person. She will not listen to you for an entire conversation. Even when she sleeps, she's in a bonsai pose because she hyperfixates on finding the person I love by becoming the greatest singer on earth. And that means you can do a lot of comedy with her, and the joke is always the same, Alice being Alice. So there is this perfectly set up joke, I won't spoil, where because she's a rock star, her agent tells her to get on Twitter. He wants me to help promote it on Twitter, but what is the essence of a tweet? Twang! And so the entire chapter, she spends all this time thinking about what her tweet is going to be. I won't spoil it, but basically she has all of these very profound thoughts about her problem. And then in the end, she tweets something that is perfectly fitting with her character. So it's just great. When you understand your characters, the comedy writes itself. They figure out... Okay, I'm not going to go into that. They kind of figure out that the two people they thought were just superficial pop stars are actually very serious musicians, and they don't just want a generic song. They want something with a little edge to it that'll be memorable. So now the whole volume is Yuzu and Alice have this kind of wonderful working relationship in spite of the lies that are keeping them apart. So Yuzu and Alice kind of think about all the different aspects of the music. What is their relationship to? I love all the different themes of how their relationship with music becomes a metaphor for their relationship with each other. Okay, and the secondary characters start making everything come to life. So when Alice ran into Momo, her long-lost friend from youth, she saw that he was living with scandalous, an older lady? Oh no, what could that be? And then we find out that it's not a sex thing. The older lady is like college age, and she's not romantically interested in Momo. That would be weird. He's like 16 years old. The older lady, basically, she just feels sorry for him because he comes from an abusive household and gives him a place to stay, essentially. So when he disappears, she worries about him and goes and finds him and kind of gives him like this stern, I'm not your mother, but I'm the closest thing you have to a mother talk, and brings him back. Okay, I marked this because I love all of these S compositions. I've seen comic artists, do weird things where you read this way and read that way, but I've never seen someone use this S flow as much as Ryoko Fukuyama. She must use it at least once or twice every chapter, and it's really hard because you've got to guide the eye in a way the eye doesn't want to go. So words, headphones, bubbles, paper. She erases the panel here, so you come in here, and then the building points you right. So even though the tendency would be to go right to left, right to left, right to left, she naturally goes this way down to here. It's just really a unique aspect of her comic book drawing. Why'd I mark this? I don't know why I marked that. That's just like the dramatic meeting between that Momo and his sort of pseudo-mom. Okay, this is really good. Ryoko understands her characters so well that when people ask her random questions about her characters, she knows the answer, and she knows how that fits with them comedically. So I don't know what this is. It's kind of like a fortune cookie. If the cast were to get New Year's Omikuji fortunes, what would they be? So Nino, Momo, Haruyoshi, Miu, Kuro. They all get the fortune, great blessing. Yuzu gets the fortune, great curse. But yep, that's perfect. She understands Yuzu's appeal so well. He's the sad sack, short kid who's always behind the 8 ball and always busting his hump and is never quite as talented as his rival. He's the one who gets the fortune cookie that says, "Great, your life will be cursed." Oh, come on, Team Yuzu, tell her the truth, you sucker. And that's great because she knows that comedy for her characters is everywhere. It's really easy for her to find these great situations. Okay, Haruyoshi, my boy Haruyoshi, being a man, kissing the girl. Miu is getting more character development, so she's not just in Alice's shadow, but she's sort of emerging as a great musician as well. The main two, Nino and Yuzu, they completely share 100% their love and passion for their music. Where am I getting at? Okay, and then it's getting us set up for a big old battle of the bands that's coming soon, and a dramatic climactic fight between everyone. I think it's good. Yeah. So as I'm kind of like getting tired of the love triangle, Ryoko knows to like dip out and give me some more of the comedy, give me some of the rock and roll, becoming the greatest rock star in Japan stuff that's kind of interesting. She knows to kind of like look at the side characters and show me a little of their lives, get me more interested in them, and kind of like focus on the beautiful working relationship that Alice and Yuzu have, while teasing me that maybe I'll give you resolution to that love triangle. Come on, Ryoko. I love her so much. All right. I received permission to visit 3 different live music clubs in order to do research for the upcoming tour chapters. Standing on those wide stages beneath, the hot lights made my heart skip a beat. To the artists who have the courage to do battle on those stages, I salute you. Ryoko Fukuyama. And at one point, someone asked her what reference she used, and she only uses the reference she shoots herself at these stages. Fantastic. I really can't pick a winner today. Today's East vs. West is a tie. You should definitely look for Conan the Barbarian #4, penciled by Barry Windsor Smith, inked by Sal Buscema. And Anonymous Noise, I think the theme of this is, even though I was starting to get annoyed by the love triangle side of it, she was able to keep me invested just by focusing on like the good stuff, like the comedy, the rock and roll, the side characters. Pretty good writing. I want to see this love triangle come to a head. My foot is asleep. I'm #1 Marmaduke fan. I love you guys, and I'll catch you later.